So you ran out of excuses long ago, but it turns out you were source all along. Change Your Thoughts and You Change the World by Vincent Peale. Have you ever noticed how two people get handed nearly the same material, like zip code and average grades, and that same unremarkable starting line that most of us have? And one of them goes on to author a life that's killing it, while the other one's still waiting for the story to start. I mean, whole libraries across disciplines have tried to explain that gap. Some people just seem to have it all: better health with better money, complemented with better relationships. Like one of them got issued a completely different operating system than the person standing right next to them. The easy explanation, and the one everybody who loses defaults to, is that your authorship got decided before you ever picked up the pen. Your genes, like your zip code and your astrological sign, created some sort of luck that conspired together to determine a life. I guess that theory, when examined, makes some plausible sense because you were never handed some multiple choice form where you got to pick your parents and where you were born, your gender, and how many siblings you'd be splitting attention with, or what language you actually think in. You didn't get a vote in any of that. So, fine, I'll consider some of that initial first draft on life got written into you before you were ever conscious enough to think. That's fine. So let's actually test the first piece of that theory. Is heredity really destiny, or is that just a convenient place we dump the blame? Well, sorry to say, it's simply not your destiny. There's no genetic fingerprint shared by every person who's ever authored a life worth living, because the winners in life come in all sorts of size, shape, color, and temperament there could possibly be. Identical twins with the exact same DNA have gone on to write completely different stories. One of them stands as a source of something remarkable, and the other one's still stuck rereading the same page. And plenty of people have authored a genuinely embarrassing first half of their life and a remarkable second half, running on the exact same genetic code the whole time. Whatever's actually deciding the outcome, it sure as hell isn't sitting in your chromosomes. The environment excuse holds up a little longer because statistically, rough circumstances really do produce rough patterns more often, with higher rates of crime and poor grades in school, while maybe easy circumstances tend to produce more successful patterns more often. That part isn't fiction, but it cuts both ways. Poverty has authored plenty of remarkable lives, and middle and upper class comfortable childhoods have authored plenty of absolute wrecks. So your environment can load the dice, certainly. It doesn't get to write the whole book, and it never did. What actually decides it, the thing the evidence keeps pointing back to no matter how many times you try to run it, isn't genes and it isn't your zip code. It's the reality tunnel you're currently walking around inside of. That specific tunnel built out of your attitudes and your beliefs and every other mental habit running underneath them, deciding what you even notice as evidence before you've consciously thought a single thing about it. Your beliefs and attitudes aren't just floating around loose somewhere. They're the actual material the tunnel gets built from, brick by brick. And those attitudes and beliefs are themselves the result of choices. Decisions to believe or not believe something about yourself and what you're actually capable of. Some people choose firm beliefs like honesty or following through and doing the work and treating people like they matter, while others never bother choosing anything at all and let whatever showed up first take the job. You tend to pick up these from whoever was standing closest while the tunnel was actually still under construction. Your parents and family members, teachers or coaches, or whichever voice happened to be the loudest in the room during the years you were still forming. So, yes, in that sense, your environment poured the foundation. Fair enough. However, none of that, the attitudes and core beliefs and the whole reality tunnel built out of them, was ever locked away in one particular kind of environment. Because you'll find the same firm beliefs and honesty and follow through showing up in a rough neighborhood as in a comfortable one. And you'll find their absence in both just as easily. Your environment might have handed you your starting reality tunnel, but it never gate kept access to a better one. And choosing to build a better one is still entirely on you, regardless of who poured the original foundation. That's the tunnel, and it gets built and rebuilt choice by choice. However, the one doing the building was never in question. Everyone is already standing as the source of their own life. That part is never up for debate and never something you had to earn or even unlock. What almost nobody does is actually recognize it, let alone live like it's true. Every person who's ever actually authored something worth having didn't discover some birthright the rest of us are missing. They just stopped ignoring the one they'd already been handed on purpose. And that's the first belief underneath everything else. You were always the source, whether you've ever noticed it or not. These winners, they thought, yes, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But I'm not sitting on my ass waiting to find out. I'm standing as the source of what I do next. Yes, I stand as the source of my own fate. If it's to be, it's up to me. Yes, circumstances certainly get a vote, but only inside whatever I've already decided is true. Never the other way around. And it doesn't get a veto. People who actually run on that aren't sitting around waiting for permission to be in charge of their own life. And they don't flinch when it comes time to own what their behavior actually produced, win or lose. That leaves exactly one excuse still standing: luck. So let me kill that one too with a story that's older than any of us. There's an old legend about a farmer whose horse bolted into the hills. So the neighbors came by to tell him how sorry they were about his rotten luck. He just asked, "How do you know it's bad luck?" A few days later, the horse strolled back in, towing 12 wild horses behind it. And the same neighbors came up, this time singing a different tune of what incredible luck. He asked the same question: how do you know it's good luck? Next day, his son tries to break one of the wild horses, but gets thrown and snaps his leg. The neighbors tell him bad luck, obviously. How do you know? The farmer says. Again, a month later, a warlord strolls through, conscripting every able-bodied young man in the village into a war that kills almost all of them. While the farmer's son, still limping, is the only young man left standing in the whole village. You never actually know in the moment whether you just got caught a good break or a bad one. That farmer wasn't hedging his bets on an unknown future. He was refusing to hand over the authorship of what any of it meant, not to his neighbor's perceptions, nor to the event itself. There is no such thing as luck happening to you, good or bad. There are only things that happen, and whether you're standing as the author of what they mean.